Hey Las Vegas, thanks for joining us back here on Vegas Realty Check, your local Las Vegas real estate news show. I'm Trish Williams.
And I'm Tiana Carroll. Welcome to the show. This week we are doing our community spotlight, which is one of my favorite parts of the month. And we have a returning guest, Miss Sharon Swanton, who helps us in our coaching corner. And she is amazing for mindset and keeping you focused and really understanding how to trick yourself into being more effective and prosperous.
And Sharon, feedback from our listeners, your section, Coaching Corner, is one of our listeners' favorite part of the show.
We get a lot of people coming up to us and telling us or writing us saying they really enjoy your
They really
spots.
enjoy it, yes.
Great.
When I get feedback from people, they're like, oh, I can't wait till Sharon comes back. So
I get the same thing. It's
that-
pretty awesome.
Oh, that's
that was
great.
pretty awesome. So you are a favorite. You're our favorite too. So we're excited to talk to Sharon today. And our topic today is going to be
What it feels like when the subconscious mind is activated and is affecting you. And I also want to talk about, because we've talked so much about when the subconscious mind is giving you negative feedback, I want to talk today a little bit about what happens when it's giving you positive feedback that may not be appropriate.
okay. That
Okay.
is
Wait,
I cannot
inappropriate
wait
positive
to hear
feedback?
from that.
Okay, that's interesting.
There's a lot there. Yeah, that, I cannot wait to get into that. That is great stuff. So let's get through these numbers this week. Hey guys, buyers, can we get the notice out there? I have seen prices changing and increasing just over the last few weeks. Buyers, this window of opportunity is closing in on us. Our single family homes are down to 49.47 on the market.
Under 5,000 homes this week. That is, the inventory is less and less.
Yeah.
And the prices aren't changing.
Yeah, well, I've seen, like some, new construction, some of those deals that were out there, there
They're
were some
slipping
that
away.
were lower. Now the prices are creeping back up. So it's changing. We got people out there shopping again. 514 sold. So that's a good, going to be a good number at the end of the month.
It is going to be a good number when we do the month in review. It's going to be up there. And it's the same thing we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Inventory is going down, prices are either leveling up and some are even starting to raise. There's getting closer and closer to spring, we're having less opportunities for buyers to really come in, and not less opportunities for buyers to come in. Absolutely, buyers can come in, but if they keep dragging their feet, they're going to get to the point where we might be out of inventory, and then they won't get those great deals that we're seeing now or those concessions that we're seeing.
Yeah, the concessions are a big deal, buyers. Those can put a lot of cash in here, keep a lot of cash in your pocket. That's a really big deal. Those concessions are not to be underrated.
Right. Right. Those concessions are the benefit of this market for buyers, and they need to take advantage of them.
Yep, absolutely. Price reductions, $598. Those are even dropping.
Those are dropping. Less and less price reductions, and it's all going back to inventory.
Yep.
If we don't have stock, it's supply and demand, baby.
Yep, absolutely. We had some news headlines. Tiana, what do we got?
Oh, okay. So was it yesterday? HUD came out with, they are dropping the insurance for FHA loans.
MIP, yes.
Yeah,
Wow.
the MIP. And they went from 0.85% down to 0.55%,
yep.
which if we're translating that into money, like a $245,000 property is going to save almost $800 a year on PMI. So that's really, I think, they're just trying to stimulate and make it more accessible for people since the interest rates went up. So higher interest rates, lower insurance, it's working out in the wash now.
This is a factor. I was speaking about this months ago to somebody that I had bought a home in my first home in 2000 whatever, I don't know, 2008 I think it was, somewhere around there, and the interest rate was 7.5%, and that was a good rate back then. But I was like, the difference that no one ever talks about was the MIP was so much lower back then,
Right.
almost non-existent really, but so much lower that it wasn't even a factor. So my payment wasn't that bad at a 7.5% interest rate. But now
Right.
you have rates plus MIP, and those payments can get hefty.
Right.
So that
and
is
I
going
really
to be
believe
helpful.
that's why they did it, right? To sort of balance the field. They want people in
They
the
want
market.
people to keep borrowing money.
Those are the facts, Jack.
But you know what's the interesting part of the whole thing? It doesn't matter. Like rates are when rates, rates go high, MIP drops. You're still making the same payment. It seems like no matter what the scenario is, we're still making the same payments, right?
Yeah, well, and I always go back to you got to live somewhere. Might as well
That's
pay
right.
yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yep, so we had that, and then we had some interesting news for Henderson this week.
Well, as realtors, we're not supposed to be saying like what's the safest place to live,
Right.
Right, broker?
Right.
Yeah, we can't tell you what's safe, what's a good neighborhood.
Right.
But the Review Journal can.
The Review Journal did.
Yes.
Yep. And it wasn't just the Review Journal, right? It was a national study, and it talked about some of the safest places in the country. And Henderson made the top 10 list of
Wow.
one of the safest communities in the country.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah, it's one of those popular
Great.
communities. I was talking with the seller yesterday, and had 2 homes, right? One was like this amazing big 5,000 square feet home, and he's like, "Wow, this home's amazing." And he had this smaller home that wasn't, it was still amazing and beautiful, but it was actually both of them were valued the same. One was in a very established location and older, even though it was smaller. The value was still the same. And I'm like, there's something to be said about location when it comes to homes.
Yep.
There's some places
Well,
that it might not be a brand new home.
That is the old saying.
Right. Location, location, location.
Yeah, it may not be a brand new home. It may not have all the bells and whistles, smart home. I mean, the other home, as far as amenities, had so much more versus this other one. But that one had this location that is high in demand, and that adds to value, guys.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
So, yay Henderson.
Yay, Henderson. Sharon,
Yeah.
let's talk.
Okay.
Here we go. I'm so ready for this.
So I've been having some interesting experiences with my coaching clients in the last month or two, and it caused me to realize that we've talked a lot about, and I always call it that little voice, who do you think you are? What are you doing? I always talk about it that way, but I realized that there's a component that we haven't talked about, which is the emotion that goes with that. And the emotion often comes not only first, but sometimes without the little voice. And what it is when you start to do something new, especially new, and you suddenly start to feel fear. And you don't know why. But just all of a sudden, you're doing something you haven't done before, and rather than go forward confidently, you're suddenly feeling fear.
Right.
Now then the little voice may start, but the first emotion or the first notification that your unconscious mind is being activated is that you feel fearful in a situation where you're not at risk. I mean, you're not like out in traffic or up on a high building.
It's not a flight or frightened reality.
Exactly. It's not a reality at all. And just suddenly you're having this feeling in the pit of your stomach like there's something wrong. Well,
And they say if you're terrified, it's a good thing.
well,
Sometimes.
maybe that may be true.
Yeah.
That may be true. I wouldn't argue with that. But I realized we hadn't talked about that. So even personally, when I've gone into doing something new, or when I'm trying to write and I get stuck, I'll notice that the feeling I'm feeling is fear. And then I go, okay, so what are you afraid of? Well, that I can't do it, or nobody will like it, or then that all comes up.
Rejection.
But the first notification is this little feeling of fear that has no basis. So if that's what you're feeling, you want to be looking at then what is the self-talk that's
Right.
coming behind it.
Right.
Okay.
I was talking to my son's, interesting you bring that up. I was talking to my son's friend a couple days ago, and he was, young. How do I become successful? What do I do? Am I going down the right track? College, all this other things, and he didn't want to go to college, which I'm not against that.
No.
I'm really not against that. There's
Not
a lot
these
of
days.
very successful people
Not
that
these days.
don't become successful through college. So, it's like, yeah, it's okay, but you still have to have a plan. And part of that was, I said that there are so many wealthy, successful, high individuals out there that are high net worth individuals that the only difference between them and you is they weren't scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
right.
one of my favorites is talent can't outwork hustle.
Yes.
It's interesting. Years ago, I began to notice, and I didn't know what it meant because I wasn't doing this work then, but I began to notice that friends of mine, kids who grew up in a relatively affluent family, tended to have affluent lives. They tended to drive certain kinds of cars. They tended to wear certain clothes. Well, I now understand that's because their unconscious picture of who they ought to be as an adult is somebody who drives a nice car and lives in a nice neighborhood. So it makes perfect sense to me. And so the ones we've talked about are those of us who grew up in very tough environments, or who had very difficult experiences with our parents that gave us a completely different message. So we've talked more about that. But the fact of the matter is that in the end, it is really all what you believe. And then you're right, you have to have a plan. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, a plan is very
Which
important.
then brings me to the other thing I want to talk about today, because I've been encountering that are probably, they're younger than millennials. So they're probably
So
not
like Gen Z.
Oh, Gen Z.
Thank you.
I love Gen Z, by the way.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
they're awesome.
I don't know
They're
whether I
awesome.
love them or I don't, but there are some things that I've noticed. If you have grown up with parents or in school, and everything you did was perfect, and everything you did was wonderful, and I really worry about these participation trophies, because if you get a trophy just for showing up, then what is the message that you send yourself as an adult about hard work, about effort, about learning? The message you send yourself is, well, you don't need to do that. All you need to do is show up. All you need to do is the minimum, or, and I've seen this in real estate a number of times. I've seen people come into our business who think it's easy. We've all experienced that.
Wait, it's not easy? Wait, I didn't get that memo.
Okay, and they burn out.
Yeah.
And they burn out because they think there's a magic bullet. They think there's an easier, better way to do it. They don't listen to people like you and me who've been doing it for a long time and actually know what works, right?
Right.
Because they can do it better. Well, that all comes from this belief system that gets developed between the ages of 4 and 7 that, well, you're smarter than other people. You don't have to work as hard. If you just show up, magical things will happen for you. Then when they don't, the first thing people do is job hop. So they go out of real estate and they go into something else, and they go into something else, and then they go into something else. And they keep looking until and if somebody finally says, wait a minute, maybe you need to look at how you're approaching this. Maybe you need to look at your own assumptions about what creates success. So I love the fact that you had that conversation, because really there are elements of success that are quite learnable.
Yeah.
They're quite learnable. It's not that
absolutely.
difficult. And there's plenty of people around who will teach you if you're just willing to listen.
Right.
So I'm seeing like two completely opposite things showing up in my coaching practice. One is the one we've always talked about, which is where you got all these negative messages and you believed you couldn't do it and nothing would ever turn out right. No matter what you did, it was going to be wrong. And then there's the other side, which is no matter what you do, it's going to be fine. No matter what you do, it's going to be great. You don't have to work hard.
I feel attacked here, Sharon.
I'm not attacking you, Tiana.
It's me. I'm like, anything's possible. I just show up and magic happens. But it does. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, sometimes that is how it works.
Yeah.
That's not an unbelievable situation, because that is sometimes how it works. You know, I will tell people, okay, you know, if you want to have something be effective, go into it assuming that everybody in the room is going to like you. Everybody's going to want to talk to you. Everything you say is going to be important to somebody. Those are the things that I talk about in terms of creating mindset for success.
And you walk in with confidence, and it's the confidence that people see and feel and are attracted to.
Exactly
Yeah.
right. So the experience you're having is not a negative thing. I mean, that is the experience. However, I have worked with at least one client, maybe more than one, but with at least one client who really truly believes that they could do it better, that they could do it easier, that there was no need for all of this process with a client. You didn't have to tell them all this stuff. You didn't have to set up a listing all this way. You could just cut through all that and go right straight to the the money.
Right.
The
And then they
money,
say,
There are
like,
no
why is
shortcuts.
this not working? Something must be wrong with you.
So
Yeah.
we're the people that get slapped in the face with reality. Like, oh, I love that you're so optimistic, but you still have to work.
which is the truth.
Which is the truth.
That is the truth. And optimism does help because
Absolutely.
it brings you into the room with a smile on your face. You carry yourself expecting success, and that attracts people to you. So that is a very definite, what's the word I want? Element
Right.
of success, no question. And when I'm working with somebody who's coming from little voice saying, who the heck do you think you are? And what makes you think you're smart enough to do this? And why are you trying this thing that you know isn't going to work? I mean, when you get all that. So when I work with people like that, then one of the things we work on is when you're going into a situation that brings up all those negative feelings, then I want you to have a little conversation with yourself. And that is the conversation. The people that you're going to meet are going to like you. Conversations are going to come easy to you. It's basically a conversation you have with yourself. And by the way, it has to be out loud. Your conscious brain does not talk to your unconscious brain. They don't connect. So if you want to change a mindset, if you want to change a belief system, you have to do it by talking to yourself out loud. These people are going to be happy to see me. I'm going to meet new people today, and they're all going to want to talk to me, okay? Or at least half of them will want to talk to me, or as many as you think you need to want to talk to you. I'm going to take this class, and it's not going to be easy, but if I work at it, I'm going to be able to learn everything I need to know in order to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
That kind of self-talk is crucially important.
The
Yeah.
good stuff.
Well, yeah, it is.
It is. It's filling your cup full of good and wellness and belief and just seeing the brighter side.
Right.
Yay. Rainbows and unicorns.
Yeah, well, okay.
That's my favorite. Okay.
Yeah, and people can so you can also take that positive talk and cripple yourself from doing what you need to do because you're not.
That's correct.
You're not listening to constructive. There's a reason why they call it constructive criticism.
Yep.
You're not taking in or listening to
Oh, no,
constructive
as a matter of
criticism.
fact, when I've worked with people who have this issue and I start to dig into it a little bit, what I get are sometimes flat out disbelief. Well, Sharon, that just can't be true. Okay. You're right, there is no Santa Claus. I mean, what do I, Or then what will happen is we'll get into a discussion about how I'm sure that this will work better. And, my experience is that the only way I can convince anybody that something either does work or doesn't work is to have them do it. I don't know anything that works better because we do not listen well to other people. What we listen to is ourselves. And so when we believe something, then it works. I do get people, I have somebody working right now who's in a brand new field and she's scared to death. It's really overwhelming. It's so different from what she's done before. It's requiring her to learn a lot. And the conversation that I keep having with her is about knowing that if she takes her time, she can learn what she needs to know. And her fear factor causes her to feel like she has to be doing everything all at once. She has to learn it all right now. She has to go out and have appointments before she's ready to have them. Her fear factor is driving her to behave in a panic, which is not helping her at all.
No, not at all.
No.
I've been there.
It's wearing her out. She's not sleeping well. She's overwhelmed, and she's not learning what she needs to know. So what we've arrived at right now for the moment is every time she starts to feel, because if she sits still for 5 minutes, she starts to feel panicky. She starts to feel like, oh my God, there's something wrong. I should be doing something. I should be productive. I should be making money. I should be. The should be's, okay? The shoulds of the world, that word, I hate that word.
It's difficult, right, to get past that.
Well, and I have been saying for years, don't should on yourself. I've been saying that for a long, long time, okay?
Yeah, don't should on yourself.
It's very hard to get past it.
It is, because people, I think, instinctively, especially if they're trying something new or they're activated in fear, they feel like any moment that they're not doing something, they're at a deficit. But sometimes sitting back and taking a moment to really process it, to learn it, it's okay to take time for yourself. It's okay to take the time you need and not shit on yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what we're doing with her is she likes to work out. So what I have said to her is, anytime you feel like you should be doing something and you just can't sit still, go to the gym. And she says, well, what if I do that 2 or 3 times a day? I said, okay.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm more interested in getting her past this feeling that she has to be doing something all the time. Because going to the gym is doing something physically, but mentally you kind of have a lot of options when you're at the gym, right?
Yeah,
Right.
well, so many studies have shown that the physical and mental, there's such a correlation between the two. It's important to be physical and to get the blood pumping and the oxygen going and release all of the endorphins in your brain for those happy thoughts. And
Yeah, I've been doing yoga for the last, I think about a year now.
You've been really
it's been a
dedicated.
little while. And my instructor, it's sometimes I'll tell people like, she saved my life, like, it's just because there are so many times that I am there and I am just so thankful that like I got that space, that head space, that relaxation, and there's a lot to be said for that. There is a lot to be said for that. It is so helpful in so many different things.
Well, and it also allows the creative side of you to emerge. It's very difficult to be creative when you're constantly absorbed in looking at things outside of yourself, because creativity, birth, if you will, comes from the inside. And so your ability to be creative, to create new things, even to chart a new course. Let's say you want to do something new, or you're looking to see if you can do something new. The only place that can come from is inside. And so you have to be able to slow down, spend a minute, and just let things kind of bubble up. Let's see what comes up. Now, for people who have had a tough, who have an unconscious mind that tends to want to beat them up, what may first come up may be that. So you may have to just get through that. Oh, shut up. I don't want to listen to you today. I don't care what you have to say. Just shut up. Go away. Leave me alone. So that you have the opportunity then for other things. Because if you think about it, both of you, and particularly you, Trish, because I've known you longer and I know a little more of your history, your success has come entirely from your willing to dream it up, to let it be, to let it emerge from who you are. That's where it came from. I think
it's beautiful.
It is.
Oh, you guys
It
are so
is
sweet.
beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
Thank
No,
you.
it is.
Yeah.
It is, and it is I'm glad people are asking you, what is the element of success? How do I become successful? I'm glad, because I think you're in an excellent position to help people understand that success is a combination of what's up here and what's on your feet.
Yeah.
You have to walk the talk. You literally have to walk the talk.
Yeah, and I guess that's one thing that I did realize, like early on, like I guess you hear it all the time, right? But if I can do it, anybody can. Like, I could, because I just, coming up, I didn't have like, it wasn't like the path was set for me.
Right.
It wasn't like, it was actually, the path was way over. I had to bring the bricks and put them there. Like,
Right,
there was nothing,
Right.
there was more stuff in the way of the path than there.
Exactly.
But and if I could do it, there is absolutely no reason why there's anybody out there. And that's, I kind of see it is very sad when I see people struggling through it, because I'm like, I look at it from the outside looking in, and I'm like, it's so easy. Why don't you just do this? But for them, it doesn't look or feel that easy.
No, and the truth of the matter is that if you think back when you were first overcoming those obstacles, it wasn't easy then, because the problem is that you're the obstacle. The problem is that you're the obstacle. If you could identify it as being, I don't know, boulders or fences or something to overcome that you could see, that would be easier. But that's not where it is. Where it is in here, and you are the problem. And so understanding that, well, if you're the problem, you also are the solution.
Right.
I mean, that is absolutely the truth.
Right.
So once you can get that, okay, if I created this, which you did, yeah, you did it with a little help from a lot of people around you, but the fact is you created it. So if you have a negative mindset, you created it, that means you can not only uncreate it, but you can create something totally different. And it's entirely up to you. You do, however, have to talk to yourself out loud. So if you're going to do that around other people, they may think you're a little nuts. You know, my kids say all the time, I mean, they really do. Sharon, do you still talk to yourself? I say, yeah, I still do.
Yeah, well, I've had that happen to me in public ever since our last, 2 sessions ago when you said we had to say it out loud. I've been saying everything I want all the time out loud. Now I find myself in public talking. The other day I was in a store and I came out and there's this beautiful sunset and I'm like, oh, it's so beautiful, blah, blah, blah. And the lady next to me is like, are you talking to me? And I'm like, I can be. I was actually talking to myself, but if you want to talk, I'm here.
Oh, I love that.
That's great.
Yeah,
I love
funny. So, yeah, but okay, so when we start activating that subconscious mind, and Trish is amazing at it, and I'm sure it wasn't.
I don't know. I'm telling myself every day out loud I'm skinny. It's not happening. So
It's happening.
It's happening.
It's happening.
no, I'm just joking.
But so you are always good at not only trying to find the bright side of something and looking at positive, but you're also good at implementing action so that positive mindset can carry you. And that seems to be the factors, right?
Yes.
Not only do you have to start reprogramming your mind, but you can't sit around waiting for the participation trophy.
no.
You have to act on
That's
it. You
correct.
have to do the hustle. You have to do the work.
And sometimes it's just a matter of understanding what the first step is, and then the next step, and then the next step.
Right.
Right.
Because what we're programmed to want to do is to understand, to see the path to the entire destination. It doesn't work like that, especially if you're overcoming negative programming. You congratulate yourself when you see the first step, and then begin to trust that you'll see the next step.
Right.
And then you'll see the next one after that. After you've done it for a while, which is kind of where you are now, you can look back and go, oh, well, that wasn't so
that
difficult.
seemed easy, right?
Yeah, right.
But I remember looking back, it wasn't, what motivated me was more anger. It was my fight or flight, mentality. I was in construction before I was, in real estate. And construction industry is very tough for females.
Yeah.
And I found myself backed into a corner where I was in this spot where just the fact that I was a girl was putting me there, and a girl. I'm not the kind of girl that construction people want to see around, anyways. It's just not. I was just in this where they were like, "You can't be here. You're not supposed to be here," and I was so freaking angry and mad, but there was nothing I could do about it. And I didn't want, you could, whatever, call whatever the news. I didn't want to do all that. I was just in a spot where I was like, you know what? I am going to change this so I never have to be here again. And it got me out of it completely, but that's what motivated me to get into real estate, because I said, I'm never going to be here again where someone's going to tell me that that I can't do something because of who I am, like that. But it was the anger that made me determined, that made me follow through. And I find myself do that a lot. I have to get really angry to get that, like,
leverage what you can to get where you need to be.
We may be able to work on that. It's interesting you bring that up because, that's in my background too. I was in the construction industry and I was the only female for miles around.
Yeah.
And so they didn't treat me badly the way they did you, because I wasn't in that kind of a job. But they questioned me all the time. Well, can I talk to your boss? No, I am the boss. Oh, you are?
Yeah.
I remember one guy interviewing me at one point. Well, tell me exactly what you did to qualify for this job. And I thought, you little peanut.
Yeah.
You're working for a bank making half the money I am, and you're asking me about my qualifications? Okay.
Yeah.
So,
and it wasn't everybody. There were so many great people that I worked with and worked around. It was not everybody, but there was certain people that, and in the spot where I was at, those certain people were a big factor that I couldn't move through. And
Wait, you did move through, and you should thank them.
I did, and I do.
Right.
I actually am.
That's right.
When I look back at that, no anger whatsoever. I'm like, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Because that motivated me to get where I'm at today, and I feel like God put him in my place, put him in my way, made that happen. So it all worked out. And sometimes I tell people that, like, when they're in a really crappy situation, it's like, this feels really bad right now, but look at what it's pushing you to do. Try to look at what's going to happen out of this and let it go.
it's what I call a good bad thing.
Yeah.
And often we have bad things happen, and if we just wait a minute and see what the outcome is, we'll find that bad thing actually created a good thing.
Yeah.
Story of my life.
Yeah, no reason to go
Yeah.
back and, like feel negative towards
No.
that person or whatever.
No.
That person
No animosity,
is
no
Right.
hate.
Yeah,
Right.
Just
was a
very
good
grateful
thing.
for every
Yep.
experience and every lesson.
Yep.
good thing at that point at that time. So
Yep.
yes, I am very grateful for that.
Yep.
Yay, I love
Me
Coaching
too.
Corner.
Yes. Sharon, how do people get a hold of you?
Easiest way is by phone,
Okay.
702-289-1537, or you can text me at that number also, although I may be slow to respond to a text. I'm not as quick as you guys are. Or email
Gotta type it.
Sharon.Swanton@yahoo.com.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, no, don't email me because I'll be even
She won't
slower than
answer.
Sharon texting. I'll be like days later, oh, did you email me? You can just call or text me. I'm Tiana Carroll at 702-379-9948. And then, of course, if Trish, you need to get a hold of this lovely, how do they do that?
I'll voice text you back with Siri, so hopefully you can transcribe that. But
It may not make sense, but she got you.
I got you. I'll answer quick. But my phone number is 702-308-2878. You can text me. You can call me. Either of those work. I'm on the road like all day long, so I do take phone calls from the car.
Yeah, same.
So, yeah.
Same.
So, yes, we look forward to it. If you guys are watching the show, download, like, subscribe, tell your friends, keep tuning in. Sharon comes back with us. She's back here every quarter, at least once a quarter.
Yes.
With this coaching corner, and we look forward to her episodes. We could go. We should block these shows for longer because we could go on for a long time.
Oh, we could sit here and talk about this all day.
Yeah. So, listeners, if you're watching Sharon, she will be back, but you can definitely reach out to Sharon and get private coaching from her, one-on-one, and Sharon can help direct your life, your business, and help you do better.
And the first conversation doesn't cost anything at all. So, in fact, some of my programs don't cost very much because you pay me as you get paid. So.
Yeah. So that is a very good
Very
option.
nice.
You could, no matter what industry you're in, you could use Sharon in your life. So I recommend calling her.
Thank
Talk
you.
to you guys next week. We'll see you again.
All right, have a good one, Vegas. Bye.
Thank you.